Thanks for joining us. We'll welcome people as they come in. Um, this meeting is really just to introduce the Living the Change initiative and how we can use that um, to push our congregations forward. We have Meredith with us, and she'll share she'll share about the initiative, and then after that, we'll dive into some Hazon Seal of Sustainability Network, getting better acquainted. I'll share some updates about where the seal is going and what we've been working on. And I just wanted to give us the space to get better familiar with each other and what we do and to share. So as we started just a few minutes late, I'll move right ahead and give the floor to Meredith. Here.
Great. Thank you, Marav, and to everyone who's on the webinar. I appreciate your time and your engagement in the Hazon Seal of Sustainability and learning more about other offerings that we have at Hazon. I am Meredith Levick, our Director of Community Engagement. I've been with Hazon for a little over 3 years, and I'm going to take you through a series of slides that we have tweaked and adapted from Living the Change. And feel free to type any questions you have into the chat box, and Marav will help gather them for me, and we can go through them in about 10 or 15 minutes. And I'll also be tapping both Jeremy and Marav to help enhance the presentation and provide some additional details. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Great, okay. And Marav, just to move between the slides, I will say next in a very tech-savvy way. Okay, great. So Hazon recently became the leading Jewish partner in Living the Change, which is an initiative through the Green Faith organization. It's a worldwide faith-driven, evidence-based initiative designed to address the growing environmental changes for our shared home. So it's an incredible responsibility, I think, and an honor for Hazon to be broadly representing the Jewish community or the Jewish faith voice in this initiative. Next. Today we will very briefly be running through what the Living the Change initiative is and why living the change as a concept really matters. And we'll go through what it means to pledge a commitment of sustainable change and how to become ambassadors for this change. I know that our time today is limited, but I will say that I'm always available for follow-up and questions, and really encourage you to dig deep into using the Living the Change platform as an opportunity to create change, incremental of any size at your organization. Next. So on this third slide, you can see the other organizations who are considered faith partners in this coalition for Living the Change initiative. It's an incredible interfaith group of people. The logos are like a little tight, but there's Muslim, Catholic, Hindu, Buddhist, evangelical Christians, obviously the Hazon logo. So there's rarely been an opportunity in my work where I've been so greatly exposed to the way that other faith groups approach sustainability and especially climate change. So it's a very rich opportunity. And this is a group of people who's collaborating to shape and drive and amplify this shared global responsibility of conscience and practice, specifically geared towards lifestyle-related changes of working towards reducing greenhouse gas emissions. At the bottom, there are three, I see on this slide, there are three core events, global events, in fact, that the Living the Change initiative is working towards making changes towards, in the spirit of promoting them at these events. And actually, Jeremy, our Managing Director of Sustainability, was just at the Global Climate Action Summit a few weeks ago in California. So I will ask him towards the end of the presentation to share a little bit about his experience there. Next. So this initiative really prides itself on being an evidence-driven initiative. So in terms of understanding what behaviors matter most and making the biggest impact in reducing our carbon footprint, the Green Faith understands that the way to do that is by focusing on these 3 content areas. This collective effort was launched at the November 2017 UN Climate Change Conference. So these 3 areas of high impact behavior changes have the most bang for your buck, if you will. That's home energy use, diet, and transport. Next. They also have this very attractive, colorful visual here, which shows you all the ways in which I shouldn't say all the ways, a number of different ways. I think of them as actually relatively accessible ways that you can consider making an impact from low to high to help reduce green gas emissions, from upgrading your light bulbs to buying green energy to thinking more strategically about how you engage in air travel or use a car. And this awesome chart shows you how your behavior correlates to an annual climate savings in this particular metric. Next. So why faith communities, or why spiritual communities? Why is this a coalition of people that have come together to make this kind of shared effort? So again, evidence-based research that Green Faith and Living the Change has done, their strong belief is that no other sector has a greater potential for transforming consumption habits. People who are belonging to a spiritual or faith tradition already value the notion of community, caring for the land, caring for each other, and what it means to create a community as a space for expressing what is sacred, what is holy, and what is relevant both for our generation and for future generations. Next. So, as I'm sure many of us know, we are not on the road to a future with a safer, stable climate. Our current trajectory is a future where hundreds of millions of people will be displaced or impoverished as a result of climate change. And I don't say that to be too apocalyptic. I think it's just a fact that we should become comfortable discussing if it's a reality. And so political actions still matter quite urgently and quite importantly, as they always will. And part of the Paris agreements involved this array of responses that our community can attend to, including these sustainable lifestyle changes, cultural and political changes, and I'm reading the third one, more credible climate spokesperson, like becoming an ambassador or becoming more educated on what the topic is to be able to speak to it. Not to preach to it, but just to speak accurately to it for other people and to help create increased awareness. Next, I think I'll skip over this one and just go to the next one. So at the end of the presentation, Meredith is going to show us the core Living the Change tool is an online commitment tool where all of the faith communities are coming together to encourage individuals to make commitments in the spirit of living the change. And the goal is that at the climate summit in early December, it's called COP24. Forgive me if I'm forgetting the exact name of it. The UN Climate Change Conference, COP24 in December. The Living the Change Initiative and Green Faith will be able to showcase that there's this united coalition of multi-faith groups who at an individual, community, and coherent community of communities level have all committed to make changes. And that incremental change builds up to create a larger impact, and that's their intended scope of work. Next. So this is like a quick snapshot of what the tool looks like in brief, and Meredith is going to take you through that in a little bit. And I also wanted to mention actually that today Jeremy and I had a phone call with Fletcher Harper, who is the executive director for Green Faith, and he let us know that not only are we looking to have individuals and communities make commitments for living the change, but that there's actually a little money left in their budget for institutions to run local events in support of living the change. So that can be a great way for your green team to come together and kick off some enthusiasm around participating in the Hazon Seal. I think it's like a really great way to create something that otherwise would have trouble getting off the ground just with a few $100s or otherwise for food or marketing or what have you. So again, you can follow up with me or Marav if that sounds like it would help move your goals forward at your institution. Next. So we actually happen to be right now, believe it or not, in the middle of the week of Living the Change. This is like a peak moment in the Living the Change calendar for 2018. There are local sustainability events happening around the globe, which you can find on their website. Tomorrow I'm flying to Detroit. This happens to be Hazon's Jaffe Network Gathering, which stands for Jewish Outdoor Food Farming and Environmental Education. The gathering is happening at a camp outside Detroit, where we'll be showcasing a number of different exemplary sustainability practices, hopefully one of our greenest events yet. And it's super inspiring. Again, on the website you can see, and Marav can help you see it as well. When we go to the commitment tool, you can see the array of events that people are running. My eye just got caught by the questions. I'll come back to that later. Great. Next, so key events. I think we went through most of these. So right now we're in this global week of Living the Change. Early November, there's the Parliament of World Religions. Frankly, I'm actually a little less familiar with that. Maybe Jeremy can speak to that. And in December, again, we're looking to gather all of our commitments by the UN Climate Change Conference called COP24 in Poland, where the Green Faith Initiative will be able to showcase the work that we've done on the ground to gain momentum around this. Next. So how to get involved. One, essentially living the change, as we think of it, is an extension or an embodiment of what it means to participate in the Hazon Seal of Sustainability. So you're already there, and hopefully your community or green team can continue to commit to be engaged in the Hazon Seal as actively as possible. And again, another shout out for the mini grant that I learned about today that we're happy to help you apply for if it works to get your initiatives off the ground. Second, Marav will show us what it means to make a commitment online. We're a little late right now for making an event of any kind for the week of Living the Change, which is happening right now. But if there are events in your community, I'd be happy to hear about them, and we can always register them to the Living the Change page so you get some credit or some publicity. The fourth is, of course, it's so important to raise visibility, awareness, spread the word. The Living the Change hashtag is super important to the marketing team at Living the Change, and also we really try to imbue it through all of our marketing materials that Hazon in recent months as well. And as I know, I'm sure Marav and her work is looking to capture stories of impact from your organizations about the Hazon Seal and how it's impacted you. Those stories could also be resonant with the Living the Change initiative. So there's a lot of great overlaps between what you're looking to do and through the seal, and what we're looking to do in a broader sense with other faith groups. So I definitely want to leave time for Marav to show us the commitment tool. I'd also love to hear a little, Jeremy, do you want to just share in like a minute or two some anecdotal takeaways from the field or your experience at the Climate Action Summit?
Sure. Can you hear me? Okay, great. So just quickly, the Global Climate Action Summit was held in San Francisco in September. It was convened by Governor Brown in partnership with former Mayor Bloomberg from New York City. And the basic premise of the whole thing was that it doesn't really matter whether our federal government is acting the way we think it should or ought to. There is plenty that states can do, there's plenty that cities can do, and in fact, there's plenty that faith-based groups can do. And so I had the privilege of speaking on a panel that Green Faith helped put together. And it had somebody, a Buddhist on one side, a Buddhist on one side and a Catholic on the other. And I was there to represent the Jews, and I think I acquitted myself okay in that regard. one of the things that was really important that they wanted to, that was really interesting and important to emphasize is that not only can we individually make commitments that in aggregate create a big difference, but we also have lots of individual things that we can do at our institutions that make a big difference. And in particular, there was an entire panel on some of the greenhouse gases that are in small quantities but are really potent greenhouse gases, including things like HFCs that come from some of the 30 and 40-year-old HVAC systems that many of us have at our respective schools and institutions. And that collectively, if we thought about what the opportunities were to go to modern, energy efficient HVAC systems, for example, we collectively, as faith-based groups with lots of big coolers and boilers and so forth, could actually make a big difference. So there were just some things there that I thought were particularly interesting that I was thinking about bringing back to the seal in specifically. And it is, you know, we're just having conversations like this at my own shul in Connecticut, where we're saying, all right, well, our boiler's actually 30 years old. It's time to upgrade it. Should it be the most energy efficient one, or should it be the cheapest one? And I got a little agitated at our board meeting about why it was important for us to have the most energy efficient one that we could do, because it was part of making a statement about who we were and what we were about, not just being frugal in the moment. So I think that there are, it is some of the types of examples that I think are germane to the work that we want to do with each of you and with each of your institutions. But just bringing it back to a larger scale on what Meredith was just talking about, we really want to see what your respective institutions can do with all of your members to say, I pledge to do this thing. And then if we can aggregate all of that, it will actually be something fairly significant when it's put all together. So I'll stop there.
Great, thank you. I appreciate your notes from the field. I know that I was speaking somewhat quickly, again, because I'm mindful that we started about 10 minutes late. Merav has kindly included my contact information here, and you're welcome to connect with her at any time. I want to leave a couple minutes now for her to show you the commitment tool. Does anybody have any other pressing questions in the meantime? Great.
Okay, thank you so much, Meredith. This presentation is also being recorded and will be shared with you, so you can revisit it. Those who have missed it would be able to listen and learn from it. And let me just quickly run you through the tool. So here, let me see if I can, I need to share that separately, right? New share. Okay. At the end of the presentation, the last slide that you just saw, there was a link at the bottom about how to get to Living the Change website, and this will bring you to this window. Can everybody see Living the Change website that I'm sharing? Great. So over here on the top left, the second from the left is commitment. Can you see that? All right, I'm going to click on commitment at the bar, the top left. This takes me to a page in which you can reflect and then pledge your own personal commitment. Again, this is a personal tool, but in a community setting, it can be very powerful. So as you scroll down, it gives you an explanation about Living the Change initiative, if you want kind of a refresher. And at the bottom, you can see the 3 different components through which we want to live the change in this initiative: eco-friendly transportation, reducing energy use, and plant-based diet. As you scroll further, you see that infographic that Meredith showed in the presentation to give you again an idea of what it means to avoid a transatlantic flight versus hang dry your clothes, and what is the impact in your daily life, right? Now, there is, where is this one? Here you can see that this is actually a button, Make My Commitment, this orange button. So I'm clicking on Make My Commitment. And this gives you an explanation of how to use it. So first you select your tradition. Let's go and share my tradition. My personal tradition is Jewish. So I'm going to pick that. I clicked on the little plus on the side. And then you're welcome to read this in the interest of time. I'll click on This is my tradition at the bottom right. And here, we invite you to take a moment to reflect, meditate, or pray about what motivates you to make commitments. You'll decide later if you want to keep it to yourself or share it. So this can stay private if you choose to. This is for your personal reflection. So I would write in my motivation, and then I would say I am ready to commit. After I wrote it, once you're ready to commit, you scroll down to choose your commitments. So you can see that these are 3 different categories. On the left, we have transportation commitments, and you can go one by one and choose as many as you want or as little as you want. So let's start, let's say, with transportation commitment. The first one is walk or use a bicycle for my repeated errands. Let's say I already do this, okay? I'm clicking on the plus next to it. You can choose whether you're already doing it or you want to commit to do it. You can also choose not to do anything and move to the next one. I move to the next one. Start using public transit to get to work. I already do this. So I'm going to click I do this, and it pulls that item to a 2-column table. This is a table on the left side. It has all the stuff that you clicked you're already doing, and on the right side, all the things that you've clicked that you pledged to do in the future. And you can scroll back up and down like this and choose as many or as little as you want. We encourage you to go through all. I went through all of them. It was pretty quick, and I can tell you I was sitting at home and I was doing it with my boyfriend, and it was an activity that I found was very helpful to do with somebody, like with a friend or with a partner or with your family, because it gives you an idea or kind of opens your mind to your impact on the world in terms of greenhouse gases and emissions. Just going through this list encouraged me in a way to see all the things that I'm already doing, and also gave me some food for thought about what I can do better. So let me see, I'll just do a couple of more. Air dry my clothes instead. I'm totally doing that already. See,
I totally do.
Yeah, I do this. And yeah, I'm Israeli. Like, we don't need these things in Israel. And I adjust my thermostat. Okay, let me find something I'm not doing. I don't have a solar array to power my residence. I currently do not purchase renewable energy to power my home, and this is one of the pledges that I'm in. So here I would click commit. This is something that I plan to do this year. And you can see here at the bottom that it pulled it to the table. Once you're finished and your table is full to your satisfaction, you can write here on the right-hand side your title. So I'll put Ms. and my first name and my last name. I already did this, so I'm not going to click submit, but you put in your email and your country. You can click on this to see how your data is used. They have a privacy policy here. All right. And here at the bottom, you can choose 1 or 2 boxes. One is I give permission to use the data provided on this form, and the second is I give permission for Living the Change to share my commitment publicly. I personally chose only the first one. You can choose both if you prefer, and then click I commit at the bottom right. And that's it. I have a couple of minutes for your questions if you have them. Anybody? I hope that was clear. It's okay. I mean, I think, I think the website is pretty intuitive, but I hope that this was helpful for you.
Does the website, this is Emily, I came in a little late.
Hi, Emily, welcome.
Thank you. Does this website pop up when I go on Hazon, or what? How do I get to this website?
All right, so I'm just going to circle back to the presentation. Firstly, we will send it also in an email to follow up on this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
The presentation that Meredith just finished, I'll circle back to it here, share. At the end of the slides, I don't know if you can see it. Can you see the slide now?
I see something, inform yourself, get involved, try new behavior.
Yeah, so here at the bottom,
I
more
see.
information,
Gotcha.
livingthechange.net. So
Okay.
this is a link that can get you there.
Great.
Personally, I also Google Living the Change Commitment, and that's the first one that pops up. So that's another option if you don't want to look for it in your emails and so forth. Anybody else? All right. Well, I hope this was helpful. Again, this conversation is being recorded, so we will share it with you. So if you came in late or if you had to miss this meeting, you'll be able to learn from it at your own time.
I can pass this along to other members of the green team at our synagogue.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I'll send it in a follow-up email for you to share with them.
Great, thanks.
Sure. Well, I want to thank Meredith again for her time and sharing this with us. She has been heading the Living the Change initiative here at Hazon, and again, her information was here at the end of the slide, and you're welcome to reach out to her if you have any questions or concerns, or if if something was unclear, feel welcome. And I'll move on
Thank
to
you.
the second part of our presentation.